I warned my son that his fiancée spelled trouble, and he threatened me with a restraining order, but now he's begging for money. I'm a 52-year-old single father and my son is 22. He's always been a bit unpredictable, but I thought I'd raised him with some common sense. He's into skateboarding, did well in school and usually followed my rules. Lately though he's been acting shady, glued to his phone, texting nonstop. When I asked who he was talking to, he brushed it off, saying it was just a friend. It seemed odd that he wouldn't say more, but I let it go. Fast forward, he insisted I meet his new girlfriend. We went to a cafe and there she was, 25, caked in makeup, wearing flashy jewelry, with a fake laugh that grated on me like Fran Drescher's nanny character. Yes, I'm old. She talked about finding what life had in store for her, and staying at a friend's place. No real plans, no stability, just living in the moment. She gave me bad vibes, like a parasite looking for a host with a wallet. My son, meanwhile, was smitten, grinning like an idiot, calling her his future after just a month that I figured it was a fleeting crush that would fizzle out. But then I overheard him on the phone at my house, talking about how serious their relationship was and how I was part of their plan. She was pushing to move into his apartment, which I'd supposedly fund with savings I'd set aside for him years ago. After he hung up, I told him she was moving too fast and after his money, not love. He lashed out, calling me a bitter old man who didn't believe in love because of my own past. We yelled and he accused me of not trusting his decisions, which honestly wasn't wrong. It was the first time he spoke to me like that, and I didn't trust he was thinking straight that he announced she was moving into a new apartment with him. I was livid. Those savings were for his future, not to bankroll a wedding with a woman I didn't trust and he barely knew. I did some digging online, I'm not that old, and found her old posts. Memes bragging about manipulating guys for money, photos of her partying all night. I'm not so old that I think young people shouldn't have fun, but I wouldn't marry someone still hungover from the night before. I showed my son the evidence, hoping he'd see the red flags, but he accused me of invading his privacy and being jealous. He threatened to cut me out of his life if I didn't accept their love. Fast forward again, she proposed to him. Yes, she proposed. Not because I'm old-fashioned and think women can't propose, but because it was so blatant she was trying to trap him and he couldn't see it. She did it in a cheap bar, making a public spectacle with a tacky ring she claimed to have bought herself, though it could have been swiped off someone's finger for all I know. He said yes and they set a wedding date just 3 months after meeting. I was speechless. 3 months and he was marrying this jobless woman with a shady past and no plans. I sat him down, trying to be clear. She's unstable, has a questionable history, and he was rushing into a disaster. He listened but didn't hear a word, saying I wasn't invited to the wedding unless I supported them without question. I told him I wasn't questioning, I was stating facts anyone could verify. When I said this could be the biggest mistake of his life, he glared and told me to forget about the wedding and any future contact. I didn't give up. As a father, I saw his life heading for a train wreck and had to try. I contacted her mother, thinking she might see reason. We met at a diner and I explained, her daughter's moving too fast, has no direction, and my son's too young to be tied down like this. Her mom didn't care, calling her daughter a free spirit. Then she had the nerve to ask if I'd help with wedding costs. I laughed and said I wouldn't fund a disaster. She stormed out, leaving me stunned at the dysfunctional family my son was marrying into. Later my son called, furious that I'd spoken to his future mother-in-law, accusing me of crossing boundaries and threatening a restraining order. I get it, maybe I was meddling, but it was for a good reason. Marrying someone after 3 months, especially someone like her, was a terrible idea. But you can't threaten a restraining order and then ask for access to the $10,000 savings I'd set aside for him. I told him no, it's for emergencies, not her wedding. He didn't take it well, acting entitled and angry, then blocked my number and cut me off. She texted me, smugly saying I'd lost because my son chose love over a stingy old man like me. I didn't respond, I was done with their games. I tried to open his eyes, but you can't help someone who refuses it. His past relationships were normal. This was like dating a palm tree with worse judgment. I warned him, but sometimes you have to let the coconut hit them to wake them up. Exhausted, I stepped back. It had to play out. The wedding day came and I wasn't there. He banned me unless I supported them. I didn't, so I stayed away. Someone who attended told me it was a ridiculous show. The venue was decent, with an open bar, not cheap. She wore a dress that screamed free spirit, in the most cliché way. To pay for it, they took out loans and maxed out credit cards, racking up debt like it was nothing. I was furious, not just at her but at him for being so blind. It wasn't my money though, so I stayed out of it. He wanted me gone, so I was. It's not that I don't care, it's infuriating and heartbreaking, which is why I'm writing this. But he's an adult, and I'm not chasing him to save him from his own stupidity. A 3-month relationship with a reckless woman and a mountain of debt? That's a ticking time bomb. Update 1. If I'd bet, I'd have guessed it wouldn't last long, but as long as there was money, the relationship limped along. Someone from the wedding keeps me updated. My son's killing himself working overtime at a warehouse to cover bills while she does nothing, posting online about their lavish spending, way beyond their means. I don't know how they're paying for it unless he's secretly a neurosurgeon. I'm still blocked, honoring his request to stay away unless I have something nice to say. I haven't found anything nice yet. Things spiraled. His best friend messaged me saying they're in deep trouble. Utilities got cut off because she's been blowing money, and my son's too proud to admit he's drowning. He's working himself to exhaustion, barely sleeping and snapping at everyone. I'm staying out of it. He called me names, so this jerk isn't helping. He hadn't asked for help yet anyway. Then her fraud case surfaced. She was convicted for a scam from a couple of years ago, faking a medical emergency to solicit online donations. She owes thousands in restitution, and somehow my son's name got tangled up, even though it predates their relationship. His friend begged me to cover a lawyer to clear him. I said no. It gets worse. Someone saw her at a club hanging off another guy while my son worked a night shift. They sent me photos of her laughing, arm around him, carefree. I told them to send the photos to my son if they wanted. I wouldn't. He'd probably accuse me of editing them. His friend says he's miserable, knows she's acting shady, but feels trapped by the wedding loans and her spending. I shrugged. Not my circus, not my monkeys that they're facing eviction for unpaid rent. The landlord's done waiting. I'm not covering it or bailing him out. Her mom called, whining about their struggles and asking for money. I told her if she's such a free spirit, she should free up some cash for them. She said she had her own bills. Typical. Everyone's got big talk until responsibility hits, then they vanish in a puff of smoke. Update 2. My son finally left that money-shredding woman. He showed up at my door looking like a drained ATM. She'd emptied their joint account, leaving him with $20,000 in debt. He got fired from the warehouse for missing shifts, probably too busy being her personal cash machine. He asked for money to start over. I told him to leave. He whined about the cold, but I pointed to the door. He left, still crying. Her mom called, screaming that I caused their marriage to fail by not supporting them. I told her to look at her daughter, who scammed my son, and moved on. Online, she's already with a new guy, posting about her latest victim. Her partner she'll bleed dry and toss to the sharks. My son saw the posts and his friend said it crushed him. He's too ashamed to ask me for help in person but texted, begging to move back in. He needs money for a lawyer. I said no, he's an adult who made his choices. I'm not running a hotel for people with "I told you so" signs on their foreheads. He texted again, suggesting I didn't warn him enough and should feel bad. I feel great. I didn't blow my money on his ex. I've got leftover roast beef, mashed potatoes and gravy to reheat. I'm in paradise. His friend says he's crashing on a too small couch, barely surviving. She texted him, claiming she made a mistake and wants to talk. His friend stopped him from falling for it again. He's got a job at a gas station. Not much better than the warehouse, but it's something. Not everyone will agree with my hands-off approach, but after he threatened a restraining order, I'm not lifting a finger. He can stew in his mess. My dinner's calling, time to close the laptop. Update 3. My son's a wreck, living in a shelter after she left him buried in $20,000 of debt. His friend updates me. He's scraping by at the gas station, eating minimally, dodging debt collectors like it's an Olympic sport. He wants to file for bankruptcy but can't afford it yet. Some asked about her new boyfriend and if she's planning another scam. I can't say for sure, but I'd bet on it, she's the same person. She's still with the new guy, posting about fancy dinners and tagging him in places that scream money. He's about 30, seems to have cash based on his car and their outings. Some suggested I warn him, but I figured a stranger wouldn't believe me when my own son didn't. Still, I sent him a message, nothing to lose. Worst case, he doesn't invite me to his wedding or cuts me out of his life. Been there. He didn't reply, but soon after she stopped mentioning him online. Guess he got the message and listened more than my son did. Sure, he's my kid and I bear some responsibility for raising him. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I didn't think he'd inherit only my dumb side. Life's teaching him hard lessons now. Update 4. My son's still in a bad spot. I won't sugarcoat it to look good because I'm not helping actively or passively. He's stuck in a shelter, working a dead-end gas station job, dodging debt collectors like it's his life's mission. His friend says he's barely holding on, eating cheap noodles, looking a decade older. He's filed for bankruptcy, which kills his credit for now, but it's his only way out. It'll take years to recover, but that's what you get for marrying a walking red flag after 3 months. At least he's divorced and the fraud case against his ex cleared him. He's free of that mess. The investigation into her is ongoing. She's keeping a low profile, posting less about her new guy, though some photos remain. My son wants to sue her for fraud, but I'm not telling him what to do. Suing your ex for blowing your money and loans you took out isn't fraud, it's called thinking with the wrong head. I hoped he was learning, getting wiser, but it's 2 steps forward, 1 back. Optimists might call it progress. My realistic side says he should be further along after this disaster. The best news? The investigation nabbed her mom too for helping with the scam. Free spirits must run in the family, free to con people apparently. It doesn't surprise me, but it's put me in a great mood. No more roast beef left from that night, sadly. I'd kill for some now instead of the bland food waiting for me. Time for a grocery run to whip up more. Update 5. Guess what's in the oven paired with a giant pot of mashed potatoes? Yep. If this update has typos or feels rushed, blame the call of dinner. Why am I so fancy today, dressed up to eat at home? Not just the food, I'm celebrating. I didn't wear my best shirt knowing I might get gravy on it for nothing. The verdict's in for my ex-daughter-in-law and her mom. 3 years for her, 18 months for her mom, both for fraud. I'm toasting to justice, locking up those free spirits where they belong. The wine's carefully chosen, the roast is perfect, the gravy's on point, and there's ice cream for dessert. I'm tempted to stop writing, but I know some of you hate them too, so if you're cheering from afar, even better. No big updates on my son, not worth delaying dinner for. Time to eat. Update 6. It's been so long since my first post, some of you might not know the saga of me, my son, and the sewer rat he married, plus her rodent queen mother. When I said marrying her after 3 months was like shooting himself with an 18th century pirate cannonball, he got mad, yelled, and threatened a restraining order if I didn't leave them alone. I took the hint and let him make his choices. Read my posts for the fallout. He's divorced now, has a better job, and rented an apartment. Though with his bankruptcy, landlords demanded 6 months rent up front. He managed somehow. Good for him. Recently he reached out, sharing how hard it was to scrape that money together. But there was a catch, with the world's saddest violin playing. He wanted a car and asked if his $10,000 savings was still available. I said no, it exists but not for him, not for a car. He got mad, called me a cheapskate holding a grudge. I said I wasn't mad, but he hadn't learned a thing, so the money stays put. I told him to leave. Then he started harassing me. One night, during my special roast beef dinner, yes again, sue me, I love it like others love pizza, he banged on my windows and door demanding I let him in. My food got cold and I had to watch the cops to make sure they didn't touch my mashed potatoes. That night pushed me to file a restraining order. It's given me over a month of peace, and that's all I care about. His job's far from his apartment, the only one he could afford, but that's his problem. Lesson: don't marry impulsively and don't mess with my dinner nights.